Hey, welcome to the Kwamie Lassiter Sports Talk. We got Alex Clancy in the studio. We got a live show for you today. We are live here in Arizona. It is still hot in October.
Yep.
But look, we got the Polynese calling in. Got some special guests. I thought, Junior Spivey and Bryant Nelson may come in, two former MLB guys, to talk a little World Series. But I know Alex has some World Series stuff going on. We finally got a World Series, but I'm not so sure it's the right team that's playing the World Series. And we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got Olden Polynese, 15-year veteran, Haitian-born from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Got drafted in the first round to the Chicago Bulls, but never played. But he never played for the Bulls. He got traded right away. Now it's interesting that the trade he went to Seattle for Scottie Pippen, so he could have been Scottie Pippen playing with Jordan. We'd ask about
That's
that.
so nuts.
But we won't have enough time, and he's going to call in the last segment. That's usually 8 minutes in that last segment. So we'll get straight to the state of basketball with him and what he has going on. LATalkLive.com. You can check him out on the Ozone. He has his own show. Again, Olden Polynese, 15-year veteran, was known for his rebounding, too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams want him for his rebounding.
He was a banger.
You always going to have a job when you can get the ball, because Dennis Rodman's one of the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll wait for that call later on in the show. What else we got? We got tell me about what you feel about this real quick, because I want to get into that breaking news of Carson Palmer and the Raiders in Cincinnati. But the handshake between Jim Harbaugh and Jim Schwartz. In your opinion, how do you assess everything that went on with that?
It was blown out of proportion. Completely blown out of proportion. Jim Harbaugh just wins the game. He's excited. They're 5-1. He's keeping his job. He comes in, gives him a handshake, gives him a pat on the back. Who cares? It's one guy that's downtrodden because he lost, and one guy that's jazzed up because he won, and it's a perfect storm. Jim Schwartz, I understand both sides, but it was definitely blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can see both sides happening, because Jim Harbaugh, first-year coach, he left Stanford to take the San Fran job. Alex Smith, everyone talks that he's not the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has Alex Smith playing at a good, a serviceable rate, a serviceable level, and has these guys 5-1. 5-1,
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I can understand the excitement that goes into it, but there's a lot of backstories behind it. But Jim Harbaugh has always been this guy. He's been this guy with like two other players. Coaching when he was coaching Stanford, he had that situation with USC. I think it was the.
Yeah, I believe so.
He had that situation there, but understandably so that he's a 5-1 coach for the San Francisco 49ers. He's exciting. I also look on both sides. Jim Schwartz was upset he lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
A game he shouldn't have lost. I mean, and you can point to a whole lot of things, but I think it was Matthew Stafford's fault. At the same time, Harbaugh, in my opinion, could have took 2-3 seconds out to have a little bit more professionalism in it. But both sides, either way, and I still don't think Roger Goodell should play any part into what's happening. It's two grown men. They hashed it out. At least Schwartz did. You can still hear some sarcastic remarks with Harbaugh and his. It
was genius.
And his
what
comments, yeah. And I laughed at it, and it was funny. He said, maybe I just don't shake the guy's hands too hard. Then he stated that we can work on a lot of things with our game, and maybe he'll work on his post-game handshake. So that was that. Then breaking news. The Oakland Raiders, Jason Campbell, free agent this year, what was his forward to Oakland Raiders now is about to become Carson Palmer's team. Just as yesterday, Marvin Lewis, a guy who still, I can't believe, has a job, he said we would not trade Carson Palmer. They are getting 2 draft picks for Carson Palmer. He will be in Oakland probably today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's great. This actually gives them, first of all, it gives Jason Campbell a challenge at quarterback, and number 2, it actually gives them a shot. Like this quarterback, who knows what he's done for the past year, because he's been out of football, he's been getting paid, but he's been out of football. He's pretty much been in lockdown with the Bengals organization because they wouldn't trade him anywhere.
Right.
If you get offered a first round pick, you're going to take it, because Andy Dalton is playing really, really well, way better than you'd ever thought he would be. And I think that Oakland, with that run game, with that defense, with those special teams, they could actually win the AFC West, even though I'm a Chargers fan, I can say that.
Well, yeah, the Chargers may have something to say about that, but I'll tell you what this does for Oakland. It now keeps them a two-dimensional team, because they do have a running game, probably one of the best running games in the league. But it makes them still keep them a two-dimensional team. They don't have to run the ball. They went from possibly being a 7-9 Oakland Raiders team at the end of the year to now they can stay on pace and be 11-5.
Yeah, they could definitely win 10 games this year.
Oh, he's 11-5 Oakland Raiders team, and that's what Carson Palmer does. But the Cincinnati Bengals will be getting 2 draft picks for him, and I don't know I know one thing they picking up his contract, the 2011 contract, which he was going to make $11.5 million. So they picking up the whole thing, even though he set out 5 or 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't go into a game with Bowler if you're the Oakland Raiders and expect to have any success. Just a little bit he played, and not to forget that Terrell Pryor is over there that hasn't played in any NFL game, probably maybe the preseason.
Right. If he wouldn't have been suspended, if Terrell Pryor wouldn't have got that 5-game suspension, I think they would have given him a shot. Well, maybe not, because the deadline is today. So maybe they wouldn't have. Jason Campbell, that's really unfortunate they got hurt. But you know what, you got to move on, and Carson Palmer's out there, and they snagged him.
And this was a year Jason Campbell was doing so well as far as a quarterback, because in the past he's always had a different offensive coordinator, always had a different quarterbacks coach. He was doing so well with this team, and it looked like the Raiders. The Raiders, did they win the AFC West last year? They was 8-0 in the AFC West.
Oh yeah, in the AFC, yeah, they were undefeated in the AFC.
Undefeated in the AFC, and then the Raiders, Jason Campbell comes back, and he's having a serviceable year also. It's unfortunate he got hurt, but this may be an upgrade. And we're gonna take a call. I got a call in the hall. Caller, you there? Hey, what's going on, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Alex.
How you doing, man?
Now, this is one of the. You want to talk about a fan, a Raiders fan? This is one of the Raiders fans. This guy lives and died. He won't sit down. He paces up and down wherever he is watching the game. This is a Raider fan. So let me ask you, Jeremy. What does Carson Palmer does to this team now that Jason Campbell is down? Unfortunately, he's down with a broken collarbone. What does this does? Because I say this went from a 79 Raider, possibly 79 to a possibly 11-5 Raiders team. Right.
Sure. Absolutely.
How you guys explain the Cincinnati organization when they've never done business while you under contract with any person, any player, because they didn't want that to trickle down to anything else? How you explain that when they say we'll never trade Carson Palmer? He's a bingo till he's up.
They got a first-round pick, and they have maybe one of the new fun combinations to watch with Andy Dalton and AJ Green. They're going to be younger. They have Cedric Benson, who's probably got a couple more solid years. If they can get a defensive stud with that first-round pick, it might come full circle. Cincinnati is in the top 5, at least in fantasy defensive numbers. So they're definitely in the top 10 in the NFL in defense as is.
And Cincinnati also is probably second behind Baltimore in that AFC North. This is a team that's one of the surprising teams of the year. They're sitting 4-2 with Andy Dalton. And 2-4, I think we'll still be talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, but 2-4 is more likely what everyone expected. But they're 4-2, and you're right. Get a good draft pick. Keep building on what you have. I think Andy Dalton is doing a great job over there.
Absolutely.
And I say great. It's easy to say he's doing a pretty good job, but he's doing great considering the circumstances that Andy Dalton is doing over there. So, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Conditional, yeah.
And he stepped up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Jeremy, let me ask you this question. With the free agency of Jason Campbell coming up this year, isn't the Oakland Raiders picking up the entire contract that Carson Palmer has? And that contract runs to 2014. And it's 38.5 million. Well, they have to restructure that because I don't think Jason Campbell should not be able to come back and compete for that. Now he's a free agent. I mean, he may want to go somewhere else, but I think he's becoming a quarterback and comfortably a quarterback in the Oakland Raiders organization because they do have one of the best running games, as I mentioned, in the game of football. But over the next 3-4 years, that contract that Carson Palmer has is a $38.5 million stretch, and I guess the restructuring of that, maybe for a 1 or 2 year deal, is what they're working on now.
Now, do you think?
And he shouldn't. Right. Right. He's not Kyle Bowler.
Right. Hey, Jeremy, do you think that they're going to make packages for Terrell Pryor, or do you think that he's just going to learn this year, just not play, and see what happens next year? Mm-hmm.
I will work a package. I will work a package on this guy. Yeah, I would definitely. If I got Terrell and I haven't inactivated him every week, I would definitely work on a package just to get his feet wet into the NFL.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's not anything that's going to lose us a football game because they do have the Raiders have improved for probably 3 years. They have been improving football team
Ever since I got McFadden, and he stayed healthy.
And let us not forget they won the AFC West last year, undefeated in the AFC West. But they have improved, so it's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that they can do. Now, with Carson Palmer coming and having Terrell, and they can still keep Kyle as the third quarterback, they can go ahead and put injury reserve Jason Campbell. They can put him on injury reserve now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, some Wildcat stuff.
Yeah. Because he's got the speed for it.
Right.
I mean, if you get rid of Jason Campbell, or if he leaves and goes to another team, you're going to lose a little bit of arm strength, but you're going to gain build and speed with Terrell Pryor. And with that running game and with that defense, it might not be that bad of a trade-off. So, right. Well, unless he gets hurt, or unless, I mean, he's not the youngest. He's not a young hen anymore, a young chick.
Carson Palmer?
Yeah.
He's
Right.
a quarterback. He's
Right.
32, but he's a quarterback, and he can play well into 35. And those are good years if he's going to be the quarterback for the Raiders going into the future with this. Yeah. Okay, well, I don't know if you want to stay on, Jeremy, but we're going to have to take a break. But, you know, we had the Arizona Melanoma Network up here talking, Barbara Kavanaugh. So don't forget to go to the website. That's www.arizonamyeloma.network.org. Oh, yeah, well, we'll talk about it when we come back. We'll take a break and we'll talk about that. But it's, man, they do outstanding things. I've been part of the event before. Hey, this is Kwamie Lassiter Sports Talk. We'll be back with Jeremy Freeland on the line, and we got Alex Clancy in the studio. Okay. Yeah, it's it's the azmyeloma.network.org. Deborah, she can come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
Hello. How you feeling?
Okay. That's why you got that Robin De Niro spot on your face, Robin, looking like De Niro.
You want to tell Monk to put on 3? Right here.
Oh, yeah, we got big things over there.
Hey. Oh yeah, definitely. Hey, Monk, turn on mic 3 when you get a chance.
Please.
Please and thank you.
Yeah, what he said. Okay, appreciate you calling.
Thanks for coming, Jeremy.
All right, buddy, thanks.
See you. How you feeling?
Good.
Yeah.
You was in a lot of traffic. He said it was an accident.
I got caught behind a 3-car pileup that it was
Oh.
down to tow trucks and lights and
Wow.
That sounds
the
exhilarating.
people watching. All good.
Oh, P.
So what'd you guys go over at this point?
Just Carson Palmer getting traded and the Jim Harbaugh Pat fight.
Right. Okay.
Blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Are we good? We are back. Hey, welcome back to the show. Hey, we got, like I said, Alex in the studio. We just been joined by Deborah Dubree, who was in Arizona traffic early in the morning. The worst traffic in the world.
It's crazy.
And I haven't been all over the world, but in the world.
And this time of day, it's driving with the amateurs too, so it's not nearly as much fun as when I used to drive about 5:36 in the morning, where everybody was speeding.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Everybody's rushing to work. You just got to leave on time. And even when I thought I got here on time. I left the house at 7:45 to get to the studio. I probably took me 45 minutes to get here.
Yeah, exactly. I had plenty of time to get here,
Yeah.
except for the 3-car pileup.
Which is crazy. Speaking of pilots, man, what about the Dan Wheldon? You guys take a look at that.
Oh,
That
man.
track over in Vegas is just too small to have that many cars up there. And then now they're talking about the new cars that are coming out next year that should prevent all that. But it's too late. You lost a guy who's one of the better racers in the sports. He just won the Indianapolis 500
Twice.
twice,
Right.
and then he loses life to a track that shouldn't even be. And they make the track so
Oh, the banks.
so high
Yeah.
where it's more excitement. But these guys, look what they're driving in at 180 plus miles per hour.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know I was, the year that Dale Earnhardt was killed, I was there, saw the crash, and then the next day I got into a car over at the Richard Petty School of Driving, and it was in the back of my mind, you know. And yet when I hit that first embankment, I mean, that car sucked into it, so I just knew that car was made for that track. So, I mean, I was all out. You look at these guys, the dudes and gals do it day in and day out. You know, what's going to be going through their minds now after experiencing and seeing something like that and the pain that everybody goes through?
Right, and this guy lost, I mean, it's just not a loss to the sport, but he lost his family and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I got in one of those cars. I was in Philadelphia. I want to say up there where the Eagles have their off-season games or workouts. I said I'll never get back in one of those cars because this guy was so close, and I wasn't driving. I was a passenger. Took me around the track twice, but he was bumping the wall almost every time.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, "This is what they do. They hit the wall. The wall is not.
They use it,
They use the wall
Yeah.
for that slingshot,
right.
and they use the wall." And I said, "This is crazy. I would never get back in here."
Well, and those open wheels. I mean, that's the thing. When you bump one open wheel to another, I mean, you're just off and flying.
Right.
That's what they go aerodynamic, you know.
Yeah, I think he was only going 150, and I've been 100 in my own car,
Yeah.
but
That was up to 124, and I
Yeah.
tell you, one little tiny tweak, and you're off.
You done.
You know?
I
Yeah.
know. But I think on my motorcycle, I was up, and this is probably why I don't have my motorcycle now, but I got up to probably 120 on my motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I slowed down just in time, like gradually slowing down, but before I got to a big pothole,
Oh,
I could be still flipping over right now.
Oh, yeah.
And
you learn how to lay them down.
And I don't know, I laid my bike down twice, but one of them I hopped off and kept running. They just don't see you out here in Arizona. Arizona traffic is bad, but that's unfortunate that Dan had to lose his life over the excitement of the game, or how they try to build these tracks just for the excitement for the fans.
Well, putting them on a track that wasn't made for that type of car.
At all.
I mean, it's
At
crazy.
all. At all.
And you can tell that there was a huge common bond between all these drivers because they're all risking their lives every time they're on the track. So it's definitely bonds them together. You could see in the aftermath in all the interviews and everything how really torn up everybody was. I mean, because they really are all friends. It's all a brotherhood. Sorry, Danica. You know, it's all a brotherhood that all these people are a part of. And when you lose somebody like this so tragically at the age of 33, it really hits everybody.
And it's something you can't plan for.
Right.
You know, something like that happens. It's nanoseconds, and there's, you know, you're driving through smoke. You're just, you know, doing whatever you can from instinct.
It could have been any of those cars.
Yeah.
It could have been any of those cars, any of those 12 or 15 in the pileup. You know.
But you know, to lose your life at 33 and he did it
for any reason.
For any reason, and he did it with the you know, the thing he loved to do most. But you shouldn't have to. There should be better regulations, better cars built, better tracks, if you will, more than anything. Cars are going to be what they are. They got to make them faster. They got to make them more durable and safe for those guys. And it's unfortunate it's a year or two early because now they're talking about this new car that's coming out next year.
Right.
Dan is dead right now.
Yeah, exactly.
He's done.
There's no do-over on that.
There's no do-over on that, and this car is supposed to eliminate. And I thought in all of these cars now, right now today, they have a package with a foam to eliminate. There was a lot of fire in that accident.
Yeah.
And it's supposed fire. Yeah, and it's supposed to eliminate what they have in the cars now with the foam and how they built them. Where these guys don't sit in there and become, you know, a torch. They become burned up, burning alive. So. I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what, all our prayers go out to his family and to the race world. If anything, I know Voice America, they go out to the tracks and do a lot of stuff. I know John was doing some stuff out there at the race in Vegas. But unfortunately, fix the tracks or keep those type of cars off that track.
Right.
So.
There's always the mental and emotional stuff that goes around, and not only the drivers, you've got all of the families that are involved. You know, it changes the home life immediately. All of the fans that watch it. I mean, everybody, whether you were there or seeing it on TV, fan or no fan,
right.
It's got a huge effect on people.
It's crazy. This is the smallest things can affect you in a huge way. But you know, it's unfortunate that it happened. We'll see with the new vehicle, the new car comes out, and how safe it is for these guys. 888-346-9144. Kwamie Lassiter Sports Talk in the studio with Alex, Clancy, and Deborah Dubree. Deborah just got in. And that was a good way to come into that terrible traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were talking about the Carson Palmer situation, and I want to move on to baseball. Alex, you got your baseball stuff. But I think this, and briefly, I'll finish this off. I think this is the best move for the Raiders. As I said, they went from they're a 4-2 team right now. What was Jason Campbell's 4-2 Oakland Raiders is now Carson Palmer's team that he inherited. And leaving Cincinnati, a team never let players go, never let them negotiate or never let them dictate their negotiations once you sign with those guys. And they've been bad for a long time. Even before I even started playing football, Cincinnati, Denver, it's the teams you don't want to go to. And Denver, because they gave all the money to John Elway. But you don't want to go to those teams, the bad organization. And then they talk about the Cardinals being one of those organizations. But I think the Cardinals now has made a lot of huge steps in the right directions to get the right players in, not just the players that are highly talented, you know, get the right players in to fit their program, their schemes, their defense and offensive scheme. But Carson Palmer inherits this team. This team has now stayed two-dimensional because with Kyle Bowler in there, it was going to be a running team only. And now they went from 79 at the end of the year to possibly 11-5.
Well, and I think he was going into what, you know, some were saying was a bit of a downward slide, and all of a sudden he's going into a new team that he's loving going into. They're highly enthusiastic, and the possibilities are endless right now for the Raiders.
And especially because of the passing of Al Davis, they all have this heightened wanting to win, heightened, you know, work ethic. Everything is going to be for Al this year. So he's definitely going into it from a tainted environment to a very, very positive and good one. Okay.
The Texas Rangers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Texas Rangers is a team that deserves to be there. They're one of those teams that deserve to be there. It's possibly 4 teams, And with this format, this baseball format, you get 6 teams in the playoff, and with the wild card, the St. Louis Cardinals should not be in the playoffs. But fortunately, the Atlanta Braves choked, and we made a conversation about this, Alex, that it happened 2 years ago in San Diego with the 11-game lead, and they choked. And you like to think if you just win one game,
Right.
St. Louis Cardinals not in it. But then the St. Louis Cardinals go on to beat the Milwaukee Brewers, who I thought was a better team. And this is probably perfect because the guy running his mouth over there with the Brewers has about 5-10 different names. Now he's sitting at home watching the St. Louis Cardinals play. But, the best team is one of the best better teams are in. The St. Louis Cardinals are in. But I don't think it matters who's in this game right now because throughout all the playoffs, the Braves should have been there. Milwaukee definitely should have been in there. It was one more team, I thought.
Red Sox?
The Red Sox didn't even make it. Didn't even make the playoffs. Didn't even get in the wild card.
Yeah.
They should have been in. Who was in it? Tampa. The Rays were in through a heroic seventh inning.
Comeback. Yeah, right.
Comeback. But what do you assess of this World Series now with the Texas Rangers and the St. Louis Cardinals?
Well, I think this is the year of the team. I've talked about it a lot. The conglomerates are kind of going towards the wayside, and these teams are rising up. St. Louis was down 10.5 games on August 25th. 10.5 games with about a month to play,
Right.
a little over a month to play. So once they made the playoffs, they deserve to be there. And you have, I've said from the beginning, you do not want to play Albert Pujols in the playoffs. People feed off his energy. They have good enough pitching. So they're a force to be reckoned with. Texas needs to kiss Nelson Cruz's feet. 6 home runs, 13 RBIs. And his home runs, the crazy part was that, I wrote this down, his home runs, every one was important. In game 1, he hit a home run to give them a 1-run lead. In game 2, he tied pardon me.
You all right? You got something?
I'm perfect. I'm almost better. He hit a home run in the 7th to tie the game, then hit a walk-off grand slam, the first one in LCS history. In game 4, he hit a 3-run home run on the top of the 11th to put them up 7-3. Every game, he hit an important home run.
Well, those type of guys that step up and become an integral part of why you're sitting in the World Series games right now. The Cardinals have Chris Carpenter pitching the first game. I don't know how well it's going to match up with these guys.
Well, C.J. Wilson isn't pitching very well. So,
yeah,
and another thing I found was that out of both teams combined, only one starter in 12 total games recorded a win. Only one, which is out of control. So you have the bullpen and you have hitting that have gotten these teams through the LCS. And another really good thing is that normally one team will be limping into the World Series. Like they'll play well enough to get there, and one team's super hot and they end up taking it all the way through. Both these teams are smoking hot. So it's going to be a really, really good World Series. And hopefully Texas, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead. You good.
No, I think it's Texas' year.
Texas.
They made it 2 years in a row. You don't want to see, as a sports fan, as much as you do want to see, you don't want to see some team make it all the way through the trenches 2 years in a row and lose both times, like Buffalo Bills status.
Well, Buffalo went 4 times. They lost 4 times, but it's something. Once you're in that situation, you learn how to get over the hump. If you've been to the playoffs, you learn how to get to that next step. If you always made the wild card, now you become you get a bye week. You learn how to win games as you go along. Them going twice, now it's up to those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Their first game is in Busch Stadium. It's up to those Texas Rangers guys to find a way to get over that hump and get a jump on the St. Louis Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals, 3 years ago, they won the World Series.
2006.
2006, they won the World Series. They've been there before, and Albert Pujols is a guy who feeds off this atmosphere. And his team feeds off what he brings to the table. And not to forget that this is a contract year, and how this year started off with. He showed up for camp wanting a contract. They said, we're not giving you a contract. Then early in the year, he breaks his hand on a play that he could have avoided, but he broke his hand, so he missed a few games. This guy's sitting in the World Series right now with a chance to win his second one.
Yeah, and David Freese there, nobody even knew who he was if you're not a baseball fan. He had 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, batted .545. He won the ALCS NL MVP. I mean, if you get people coming out of the woodworks like this and supplementing or complimenting Albert Pujols and everybody else, you definitely got a good chance to win it all.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, finish up this World Series. 888-346-9144. Alex Clancy, Deborah Dubree in the studio. Kwamie Lassiter Sports Talk. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. All right.
So you think Nandi Awesome was kicking himself right now?
I think he is. But I think he is. But
They're not making the playoffs this year.
who? The Philadelphia?
Yeah.
You think the Philadelphia Eagles not making the playoffs?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. No, they'll be in the playoffs. It's not like the NFC East is that huge.
Yeah, but they're 2 games back. They haven't won at home yet.
Well, this was a huge win, but Washington's not that good.
No, the Giants might be legit though. If Amon Bradshaw can still produce like this,
because they got their D line back.
right? Yeah, right. And and I mean, NFC North, you got 2 teams there at 6-0, 5-1, 2 4-2 teams in the NFC South. I mean, it's not so much their record; it's more everybody else putting up good records.
They'll be okay. I believe they'll be okay.
Vince Young throws almost a pick 6 his first throw.
Yeah, he comes in. Well, he hadn't played since going back to the middle of last year.
I would have known to tuck that and take a sack.
He almost took a safety because he ended up in the end zone.
So how's the rehab?
Where are you rehabbing?
What am I rehabbing?
No, where are you rehabbing?
Oh, I'm at home right now. They were coming in 3 times a week.
Oh, okay.
Now we're going to 2 for 2 weeks, and then
So
I'll
you
start
so
going
it's
out
getting better.
someplace. Pardon?
So it's getting better that fast. Yeah,
Told you.
you did.
Should have did the over/under.
Oh, I would have lost.
You lost.
I would have lost.
Yeah, my range of motion and everything else right now is better than what anybody would have ever expected.
So you set up the
think
skydiving
that's
lesson
wrong.
yet?
Not yet, no. Wouldn't do that even when I'm healthy. A lot of things I'll do, that's not one of them.
Fair enough.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Hey, if you remember about 2 weeks ago, we talked to Barbara Kavanaugh as long as we could before the phone got cut off. But she's the founder and president of Arizona Myeloma Networking. They're having a huge event this weekend. Friday is a receptionist over at Chaparral Suites Resort Ballrooms. If you decide you want to stay there, the rooms are a special rate, $139. That's Friday, October 21st. And then they have the golf game, the golf event on that Saturday coming up over at what is it, Mountain Ranch Golf Course, McCormick Ranch Golf Course, with lunch and awards afterwards. But you can still call in, you can still go to the webs page, that's ArizonaMyeloma.network.org, and get involved with it because it's a good thing. We just had Jeremy Freeland on the show. He said he had something removed off his face, which was important. I mean, it's a cancer, and there's a lot of people dying, passing from it that don't know about it. So check it out, or give us a call at 888-346-9144, and we'll give you more information on that. We were talking World Series. Let's finish up with the World Series. Deborah, you
I was just going to make a comment that, just like you guys are saying, when you've got players that are coming up and making plays that normally they wouldn't make, and clutch guys that are coming in and making plays that are really critical to the game, you can feed off of that, and players are doing that. Some guys will close down and, leave it up to the one guy. Other guys will jump forward, and it seems to be happening on both teams where everybody's just energetically getting charged, and you're going to have a lot of players that are out doing what they normally could do.
And the St. Louis Cardinals, they are stepping up at the right time. They got into the playoffs. Once you get in the playoffs, anything's can happen. Mm-hmm. They got into the playoffs with the Atlanta Braves falling off 10 games, and we've seen it before with the Padres. But they got into the playoffs, and they kept getting better and better each game, each week against each opponent.
They beat the Phillies.
They beat
the best team in the National League,
right,
record-wise.
And that was one of the teams we thought would be in the World Series.
Everybody
Texas Rangers in here are now in the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals, who's peaking at the right time. I think with the Rangers being there for 2 years in a row, I think it may be this year. This year they win it.
And if they can actually step back and take a look at, what did we just do? When you make one of those phenomenal plays as an individual or a team and say, what specifically and exactly did we just do to be great? And then repeat that awareness is huge. to be able to recognize it and then repeat it and then applaud yourself again for going to that next level. It just keeps building.
Unfortunately, I think it's time for Albert Pujols to show his dominance once again, just to just show the world, hey, I'm here still. Every 5 or 6 years, he's hit 30 home runs every year he's been in the league. Never been done before. He is St. Louis is going to win.
Well, it is unfortunate because I don't think that guy has to prove anything. He put some players around him, and they got limping into the playoffs. But they're here because Albert Pujols and him coming back a lot earlier, like you are, Deborah, in the studio, coming back from knee surgery, from reconstructed knee surgery. But he has been that mainstay, that main, statistically wise, he has been that guy that's always put those numbers up. Those guys have to feed off that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Those have to feed off that. And he can still be, he's not such a huge guy where younger guys come in and he doesn't get excitement about the play of these younger guys and what they can do for the team. And that's probably why he wanted the contract. Albert Pujols probably can go anywhere to play baseball. But being in the right situation and being in St. Louis all those years, he wanted a contract at the beginning of the year, but they wouldn't give him one. So a lot of distractions going into the season. Tony La Russa, not Tony La Russa, but you look at this guy, Albert Pujols, and what he's done over his years. He is St. Louis. Give this guy some long-term deal. They don't want to do it. They don't want to give him a 10-year of what they want.
It was $280 million.
275, $280 million. Yeah, for a 10-year deal. It's baseball money.
If you're going to give anybody any money in the major leagues, he's the one you need to give it to. Not A-Rod, not all these pitchers that have 2 good years and you give them max deals. Well, I guess there's not a max deal in major leagues, but you give him a lot of money. And Albert Pujols, he deserves it. All he's done is shut his mouth, play baseball. He was never in the steroid thing. He was never in the Mitchell report. He was never.
That's why $280 million is not a big deal to give up to him. It's not my.
But they're a small market team. It's not fair. I mean, it's not fair to the market. But everybody, that means they'd have to probably raise ticket prices. There's a lot of rippling effects about it.
And it's not fair to the market. And what if he loses and nobody shows up to that stadium?
They're gonna win. So it's not going to matter.
No. What if he leaves?
Oh, what if he leaves? Oh, they're going to have a problem. They're going to be the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, exactly. Milwaukee had their chance, and Prince
is gone.
He's going to be gone.
He's gone.
Now, having those small market teams, is anybody going to watch this World Series?
Absolutely. Because everybody is rooting for one of these teams because they're not a conglomerate.
I would like to see the ratings to this World Series. I mean, obviously, the first game, people are going to tune in for that, but I'd like to see how well it goes throughout the series. But yeah, both of them small market. Texas, you got, although Texans were probably a better team, but St. Louis is a small market baseball team. That's why you can't get rid of a guy, Albert Pujols, and what he does for that community. I know when I was playing for the Rams, he was out there. It was Albert Pujols everywhere. But you get rid of him, your team's going to be, you might as well fold up.
And he's probably, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, and seriously, I'd rather pay for consistency than a flash in the pan, too.
Right.
Yeah,
You got somebody who's consistent, you can build off of that and build other players that are that, one-hit wonder type of thing, or 1 year or 2 seasons or whatever it might be, but that consistency that underlies it all is the foundation for a repetitive team.
Right, and I think that awards for MVPs are, every year it's different why one person should get it, why one person should get it. If you take him off the Cardinals, they win 60 games every year, 50 games every year. He is the most valuable player to that team compared to any other player in the major leagues.
He's one of them, man. He's one of those guys that are not asking to go to the Yankees and his free agent contract. He's not asking to go to the Boston Red Sox.
They go to the Cubs, though.
Cubs.
If they don't win, he's gone, I think.
They should be working out a deal right now, but it shouldn't be all that distraction right now. Just tell him we'll take care of you at the end of the season, that 280 you want. And it shouldn't even have to be publicized. We don't need to know all that, because now we're worrying about, if we know he's about to get $280 million, we holding him accountable to his play now. So just tell his agent or promise his agent this deal will get done, and let Albert Pujols keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he has his team in the World Series, and we'll watch these guys. We'll watch these guys, see what they do. It's a wild ride.
I hope that
it's a wild card team.
I hope it's going to be a really, really good World Series, because the last month and a half of baseball has been my favorite month and a half ever with baseball. Just so exciting, so many crazy things happening, and hopefully all the way through there's going to be 7 more games of it.
7 more? You think this is going to go to distance?
I don't know. I hope it does. It'll be a great cap to the season.
The St. Louis, with the hitting they're doing right now, the St. Louis, they put up 12 points on the Milwaukee in the final game. So hitting shouldn't, the excitement of baseball as far as hitting is concerned, it shouldn't be a letdown. These guys can put the bat on the ball and get it out the park. but exciting. They get 4 runs in the first inning of a game on the road, and so these guys can play anywhere. So the park is the park. They've been in this thing long enough. They 12-6. They beat the Brewers and they end up in the World Series.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff. All right, we talked a little baseball. Let's get into some real quickly before we go to break. You saying the Eagles will not make the playoffs because of the Giants or just because of what the Eagles are?
No, I think it's because at this point they're 2 games back. They don't win at home. Unless they win 7 or 8 games in a row, which could happen. In most instances, there aren't these outliers in every division. Like Green Bay and Detroit, 6-0, 5-1. Tampa Bay, New Orleans are both 2 games up on Philly. They have opposite records, 4-2. San Francisco's 5-1, which nobody thought would happen. So, because there's so many great records, it's starting to separate great records and crappy records. And I mean, they're 2-4. They're in trouble in that division. If the Giants beat them one game in division, Dallas might beat them. They're exposed. If Michael Vick gets hurt, and if he gets hurt one more time, he's probably going to miss some extended periods of time, and then you're in trouble. So everything is lying on Michael Vick staying healthy.
They're 2-4, and then you have LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson. You have Macklin over there, Michael Vick. Their offensive line has gotten a lot better. So I say they 2-4. They lost 4 games. Their team is getting a lot better. They've taken their bumps and bruises now. Now it's time to play for the team. When they came into the season, it was this dream team. So it was a hype they couldn't live up to because they haven't played. On paper, yeah, they look like
they could have won. They could have won their first 6 games and lived up to it right now.
If they won their first 6 games,
yeah.
But then on paper they look like the team to beat. And with all these backups, we see Vince Young come in. He almost threw an interception his first play. Why are you throwing the ball on your first play? You haven't played since middle of last year.
Ugh.
Hand the ball off, get him into some type of rhythm. That's just Andy Reid. And I've talked before about Andy Reid. He went from a great coach to now. Maybe it's time to move on. If you don't get it done with this team, you traded a lot. You got a lot for that team to be successful. You bring in one of the top corners. You get a trade from the Arizona Cardinals for Kevin Cobb with DRC. You still have Asante Samuels there. You got lockdown corners. So they should be a lot better. But the mistakes are coming on offense.
Well, part of what you hit on, too, is the rhythm. The individual rhythm of them trying to figure out how to play as individual players and then turn around and figure out how do they play as a team. And they, to this point, haven't really figured that out. The whole Vic in the pocket, not in the pocket, all that stuff. They're just now kind of maybe almost getting that figured out. Right. So we'll see what they do in this bye week.
Well, just let the guys play. You didn't draft Michael Vick, or you didn't bring him in off a 2-year stint and tell them stay in the pocket. Let Michael Vick play.
That's trying to change somebody's natural behavior.
Right.
You've got to take what somebody does really, really well and leverage it.
Now, if Kevin Cobb was still their backup, they'd let him. Because if he got hurt, they'd have some sort of competent quarterback with some sort of experience with the offense to back him up and actually come in, and you won't lose all that much. Vince Young is new. Kafka is unproven in his second year at Northwestern.
Right.
Either you're going to be a running team without Michael Vick, or you can make the playoffs. That's really, as of right now, what it's going to be.
As far as the Eagles making the playoffs, Michael Vick go down one more time, and it's possible because of the way he plays. Kafka's not going to be able to get it done. They are out of the playoffs. But right now, I think they'll still make it. But in those scenarios, in that situation, they're off. And we talking Kevin Cobb, who's now in the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are 1-4. We didn't expect that. Maybe 3-3 at worst case scenario. They 1-4, maybe 2-3.
Well, going back, even this summer, there was an article I read on Michael Vick during the off season where he was going back and looking at his game films from the last year or so and looking at all the mistakes he made and how to fix them. And I made a comment a couple months ago about it's the exact wrong thing to do. And these guys are doing it even in their bye weeks. Is when you look at your films, you look at them as an observer so you can see what went wrong, but then you replay it in your mind and with your emotions to do it exactly the right way so that you're building that success pattern in your mind rather than building the mistakes that end up coming out on the field the next time you play.
Right, and you don't want to look at all the bad things. I think when you got an off season with an off week like that, you go back to the basic on a lot of things because and you got to move forward from a lot of that negative stuff. And the more you see positive things, the more positive things you do, and that works on the other side of things. We're gonna take another break. Got Alex Clancy and Deborah Dubree in the studio. Kwamie Lassiter Sports Talk. We'll be back in a minute.
You think they'll fire Andy Reid? I mean, I think
if he doesn't win,
I think it's a Terry Francona thing where you just lose. You lose.
if Marvin Lewis doesn't get fired, Andy Reid should never get fired.
What about like if you brought like John Gruden or Herm Edwards or somebody that'll beat those guys up a little bit?
Herm Edwards, that's the problem right there. Yeah,
Herm Edwards never would. What about Bill Cowher? God, I wish he would come back and coach.
He will if the situation.
Oh my God, you think he wouldn't take the Philly job?
Well, though, he'll build the defense up too.
Right, and he would get in Michael Vick's face, and I mean
Andy Reid did that this weekend.
Yeah,
he did that, but it was more so I'm not taking the blame for this one this time because he got up in the podium for 5 weeks and said, "Well, you got to put it on me." No, those guys are out there playing. The game plan was good because it worked for a while. It worked in the first half of the Atlanta game. He went down. The whole playbook changed. Obviously, for Kaufman, the whole playbook changed. It worked in the first game. Who did they play? St. Louis first game?
I can't remember.
Yeah, they played St. Louis first game. A game on the road. It works, but you can't keep putting the blame on the coach.
Well, and the whole idea of taking the blame anyway, there's no purpose to taking blame. It makes people feel bad, and there's no benefit to it. So you got to look at, what went wrong, what went right, leverage what went right, and take what's wrong and get some, a plan in place to fix it.
Yeah, in high school that works, but in the NFL it's like everybody's making so much money they always think they're right, which is really unfortunate. Because I agree with you. That's why there's so many problems. It's ridiculous.
Well, it goes back to having players that know themselves and can be a whole player.
It's true. Not a lot of them are. Yeah.
And welcome back to the show. We were talking football. We were talking Philadelphia Eagles. Well, we can go across the board with the Rams. The Rams in the trades they're having right now. Brandon Lloyd from Denver. He's now someone that Sam Bradford could throw to.
Well, I think he's in Miami now.
No,
he didn't go to Miami.
Brandon Marshall's in Miami. Brandon Lloyd went to the St. Louis Rams. And now they have more. Because Sam Bradford had no one to throw to, really. He handed the ball off to Steve Jackson. And with the guy, he didn't have a consistent guy to throw to. And they were trying to get rid of Brandon Lloyd out of Denver. Also, they have another guy over in Denver. But now, who does Tebow have to throw to? Tebow's making his first start that everybody wanted to happen. Everybody couldn't wait to see happen. Tim Tebow come in for Cal Orton. It's not his fault when you put all that pressure on somebody. When you got Tim Tebow, who shouldn't have got drafted in the first round, but would have been a great third-round pick, and you would have got the same thing out of him, in my opinion. But now he's a starting quarterback, so now he's getting a chance to prove, again, everybody wrong, because he's one of those guys that can do that.
He's getting a chance to prove them wrong. Instead of people telling them what he can't do, he's actually going to get a shot early enough in the season as to where if they go on a run, anything's possible, I mean, probably chances are it won't happen, but at least he's getting a chance early enough as to where they're already out of playoff contention and they're playing 3 games. Who cares? That doesn't show if you can really win or not.
Right. They're sitting because he's coming under different circumstances. Anybody can play loose and free like that when you come under different circumstances because it's more so you need to hone your skills up now and find out and show why you should be the starting quarterback for the future.
Well, that's the thing. Now he's going to be looked at as a leader.
Right.
He's got to really step up big time, and he's got some heavy expectations on him, which means a lot more pressure. And we're going to start to see now whether he can handle that pressure mentally and emotionally, because the fans will turn just as fast on him as they will on anybody else if he doesn't perform.
And that's why I say in Denver, be careful what you ask for. I think Tim Tebow could be a great leader. I think he could be that guy, but I don't see him being a great quarterback. I see him just being a guy you can put package together for him, and they will work. They change up the momentum of the game, and they work for your offense. They keep defenses off balance. I see him to be that guy. I see him down the road being a tight end or a flex receiver that a linebacker will have to cover that's not going to get done.
Right, but it's all hypothetical until we actually put him on the field and let him play 3 or 4 games in a row. See him building some camaraderie. I mean, they have receivers there. Eric Decker's playing really well. Demaryius Thomas is getting his time. Eddie Royal had some great games last year. He's either has a great game or he disappears. So it'll be interesting to see. McGahee, Noshawn Moreno is getting healthier. So, I mean, they might be able to salvage a little something out of this year. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they could definitely have some sort of positive things going on, even though they started 1-4.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if the guys will trust him too. They will in the beginning. It depends on how he's going to play, whether they continue to trust him to be able to get the ball to him, whether he's handing off or throwing, either one.
Right, because the whole playbook's not open for this guy. How you go into a season trying to salvage a season when you got a guy his mechanics coming into the league wasn't what they say a quarterback should have, and then the playbook is not open because he's more so of a running guy, and we thought, a lot of people thought this would be Cam Newton's situation. It may be his issues going out there being a running quarterback. But Cam Newton never had to pass it off. He could run the ball. He's playing against other college guys who didn't have his capabilities, his type of skill set. Plus, he had other guys around him. Now we see him in the pros throwing these outrageous numbers. So what do we say about Cam? All he needs is another receiver. He has Steve Smith to throw to.
Right.
He needs another receiver. There's a guy coming out of Oklahoma State this year. Should have came out last year. If Carolina Panthers can get that guy, they already have Stewart, two of the best, and D'Angelo Williams. They already have a running game that they're not using. Obviously, when Cam is passing for this much, they're not running the football, but they're behind in football games. I think up until, behind meaning a touchdown away. Up until this game, but they lost that game to Carolina lost to Atlanta Falcons 31-17, but they were in the game up until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And all Cam needed was a chance in the fourth quarter to possibly tie it up. So if they get another receiver, I think Carolina will be a much better team than they were this year.
I see him really building. I mean, he's building such a solid foundation for himself within the team and within himself personally that he's definitely going to be one to continue to watch.
Yeah, but he definitely showed his rookie status. I think he threw 3 picks.
Yeah.
He ran for 50 yards and got a touchdown. Threw for 237. He never really had control of this game like he had control of the other ones. He wasn't hitting his tight ends as much. He hits Greg Olsen and Jeremy Shockey. Those were his 2 best friends. Yeah. Nobody even knew Steve Smith was even going to be in the picture. So if you can get another stud receiver to line up alongside Steve Smith and have those 2 tight ends and a couple running backs, who knows what could happen in the future?
Well, that's all they need, or find one in the draft, or find one in free agency. There's probably a handful of them in free agency, some veteran receivers that you can bring to the organization, and they change the whole complexity of what they're doing. Cam has showed composure all the way up until this point, and he's, you expect the guy to throw 2 or 3 interceptions a game. Drew Brees threw three this weekend, and Drew Brees is probably the top 3 best quarterbacks, top 5 best quarterbacks in the National Football League. But he throws the ball 50 times. He throws the ball 50 times, I say 40 times or more, to win football games. They don't have a running game in New Orleans, but you can always count on Drew Brees to keep those guys in football games.
He's thrown for over 350 yards in 4 straight games. Right. It's never been done before.
Never been done before.
Unbelievable.
But he passed so much.
Yeah. Threw about 45 times.
But he has a good core of receivers, too. Now, give Cam Newton one more receiver.
Right.
That changed their offense completely. Now you got to worry about the running game. You got to worry about 2 decent receivers. And this is what Atlanta Falcons tried to do. Last year, Matt Ryan only threw 9 interceptions, 25 touchdowns. But they was running the football more. So they started running the football this week with Michael Turner. Julio Jones was gone, so that went back to their offense they had last year. But when you get Julio Jones, you change the identity of who you are. You think you have to pass the ball down the field. Well, you don't have to do that. You have guys up there that can, that not just serviceable, but pretty good at what they do. Run the football first and open everything else for you.
Yeah, play your game. Don't run the past game or the future game. Play the game you got in front of you right then.
Right. These guys in Atlanta, they forgot who they were.
Well, it's tough when you get that talent and you know what he can do. You try to map your game plan around him when you should keep the same game plan. Give him some touches, give him some targets, but run the ball. Yeah, Michael Turner's finally starting to get into his own a little bit. People said that he was going to have a really down year because he'd been worked so much last year. If he runs the ball 25 times a game and gets the numbers he got last week or something close to it, they're going to be just fine. They might rise up and win that division.
Going into Week 7, who are your surprise teams?
San Francisco 49ers. Jim Harbaugh. Nobody knew that this was going to happen. Alex Smith is like
Alex Smith was on his way out.
He's like the Mark Sanchez of the NFC. Because he has a running game, he has defense, but if the games get close, except for this last week when he threw the touchdown pass on 4th and 6, things go wrong when it's on the onus of the quarterback to win a game. But if Frank Gore is going to run like crazy like he did, He had 2 long runs, which ballooned his numbers.
Right.
But,
But he's capable of doing that, too.
Sure, if your offensive line will work together and get the holes for him.
And the San Francisco 49ers also have a pretty good tight end over there.
Yeah, Vernon Davis is a stud.
That who can probably flex out. And then now you got to think about, do I put a linebacker on this guy? Do I bring my third cornerback in?
Right.
Now that changes up the softness of their defense. So now they can run the ball with Frank Gore. And I think Jim Harbaugh has done an excellent job with that, with mix matching their offense to combat defenses, if you will. But they sitting 5-1.
Yeah, and barring some huge collapse, they'll win the division.
This was a team we probably thought would be 2-4 right now.
Yeah.
2-4 with Alex Smith being the quarterback.
Right.
Well, he's revived, and I thought he was going to not tank the season, but look to get the quarterback from Stanford, Andrew Luck, in a supplemental draft. That didn't happen. Andrew Luck's probably going to end up in Miami somewhere, or maybe Indianapolis.
It's going to be poetic justice if he goes to Indianapolis. It'll just out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And Peyton Manning's not playing again. FYI, we got about 40 seconds. If you guys want to get a word in, but Peyton Manning's not playing again. He has a $250 million insurance policy that if he don't play again, he gets $250 million. He's not playing again.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough coming back in again with that type of injury and being off this time.
Yeah.
And his mental and emotional game is got to be toast right now.
Right, his passion is his passion, but
That's right.
if I got a $250 million insurance policy, I don't think I want.
I love a guy.
I don't think I want to risk that fall on my neck again. Now and I can't walk.
He'll be an offensive coordinator next year.
Yeah, a great one too.
Yeah,
A great
and
one,
then
too.
he'll be a head coach, and then it's going to be, it's going to be great.
Then he'll win another Super
You're
Bowl
not worried
as a
about him.
coach. All righty, this is Kwamie Lassiter Sports Talk with Alex Clancy in the studio. Deborah Dubree. Don't forget to check yourclearedge.com, Deborah's website. If you're crazy, you might want to check that out. And we'll be back. Check out Clancy's Corner. Alex got a bunch of things on YouTube that he's going to have to stop paying for. Hey,
I already asked you.
It's all. I'm messing with you. Maybe next week we'll have Odin Polynese call in and talk a little